Good evening, Belize, and welcome to XTV's news broadcast for Wednesday, January 29, 2025. Making the headlines tonight, big win for GOB in compulsory acquisition of Stake Bank Island extension. Police shot Emil Rivers to stomach even though he was not advancing toward them. And police will only focus on deportees with criminal past. We take our first break and return with the news in detail.
Smart, we're not just keeping you connected, we've got you covered. Smart, bringing people together.
I'm Ron.
Welcome back with your news. I am Drea Espinosa. Police Commissioner Chester Williams today released a damning video of the police-involved shooting of 24-year-old Emil Rivers in Independence Village on Saturday, January 25 before 7 a.m. It is almost 4 minutes long and shows a back and forth with Rivers and 5 police officers who cornered him onto the veranda of a one-story cement house. Rivers is armed with a machete that he found in a yard while trying to run from police, but he is not seen advancing toward them. A 6th officer was recording the video. The cell phone footage shows that on 2 occasions, instead of standing, Rivers hoists himself up to sit on the railing of the veranda. The only time he took a few steps toward the officers was after one grabbed a plastic chair and knocked him with it in an attempt to disarm him. By that time, 2 to 3 warning shots had already been fired. Clearly exasperated, PC Sheldon Arzu shoots Rivers to the stomach even as he is just standing there, and he therefore had a clear shot to his feet. Because Rivers still does not release the machete, another officer tells Arzu to shoot him to the foot. In response, Rivers says for them to shoot him to his head instead. At that, PC Arzu questions, quote, to the head, and then fires off a shot that passes near Rivers' head. We now air the following insert of how the shooting plays out. We do advise viewer discretion.
Government. Hey. I don't work with the government.
No man. Bring down the machete.
I don't
Bring
work
down the machete.
No, hey.
Wait.
Sarge.
Wait. Let it go.
I don't
Wait.
want
Let
to
it go.
I don't want to
Let it go. Let it go then.
Why?
Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Put it down. Let it go. Put it down.
You got 2 warning shots already.
Let it go.
Let go me.
No man. Let no man. No man.
Video?
No man.
Put down the machete.
Oh, you the video?
Put down the machete.
Why would I want to lock me down?
No man. Let's go.
Why?
Let's go.
I want to help the people that don't
Let it go.
want to kill me.
Help.
Want to know kill me.
No man. No man. Kill you man. Don't let go.
Want to know kill me.
Help yourself and put down the machete.
Let it go. Let go. No man.
I rather want to kill me, yeah? Than go me.
Why?
No.
Let it go. Let it go. No, let it go. Let it go.
Wanna move fire, zoom, move
Let
fire,
it
zoom.
go.
Zoom, move fire.
Let it go.
Zoom, move fire.
I'm telling you.
You the video, miss? Oh, you
No,
think
man.
I know you?
No man.
You know I don't know bad man.
No man. Let it go.
Wanna know a chance me, man?
Let it go.
Please move fire.
Let it go.
Figure what?
Let it go.
Let
Let it go.
No man. You know,
Let it go.
Go ahead, sir.
Why?
Why? Move fire, sir.
Stop them.
Put that.
Go. Stop that.
You the video?
Let's watch it. I carry police.
Go.
No man.
Tree, I wanna
No man.
Tree, I wanna good.
No man. Stop
I
all
don't
the
wanna
things.
good. No, I wanna can't RNP. No, move back up far on me. Back up far on me. Back up far on me, Roland.
No play.
Why?
Young man. No play.
Why wanna kill people?
Why the man I want to jump on it?
Why wanna
No
kill
play.
people for?
Go for the next side, cuz.
Why wanna want to kill people for?
No man. Stop down on my chest, man.
Tony!
No play.
You move far on me.
Come.
You move far.
Come. Watch it there, man. Watch it there. Let it go.
Why?
You know what I'm telling you?
Oh no, I carry me fire. I wanna know a chance me.
Why?
Oh no, a chance me. Move fire. Please move
No,
fire.
man.
I got a beat. Yeah, what I do? I got a liar.
Why?
Relax, man. Relax.
What?
Relax.
Why?
Why? You can't shoot me.
Why?
You can't shoot me. Why?
Why?
Stop down the video. This what's up? My family and friends don't know the city.
No man. Chop down that
Don't know the city. Why?
No,
Put
no,
that down.
Knock down on my chest.
You can't raise that. You put that. Mother. Mother.
Drop it. Drop it. You don't hear drop it. Drop it.
Just did that.
Drop
Just
it.
did that.
Drop it!
In our head.
In our head! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
No.
Let it go! Let it go! Throw it down! Let it go! Let it go!
Let it go.
You are let it go! You are let it go! You are let it go! Ah!
Rivers was shot at a distance of about 4 to 5 feet. Speaking about the video, the Commissioner of Police said he will not pass judgment at this time as to whether PC Sheldon Arzu was in the wrong. Williams also declared that the wound to the back is an exit wound, and based on the video, we did not see that Rivers was shot a second time.
I will not say if he is in the wrong at this time. I have viewed the video. I have my opinion of it. And PSB currently has control of the matter. I do not want to say or do anything to influence the investigation that's going to be done, or that is being done by PSB. The video will be released to you, the media, for public consumption, and the public can also be the judge in terms of what transpired. And let me say that the young man in the video had assaulted Inspector Rosado, who is the officer in charge of Bella Vista, with a huge butcher knife, almost killing him. He was arrested, he was detained by the police, and he escaped from the police station. He was pursued to that location where the shooting happened by the police. There was a lengthy standoff while he wielded a machete at the police. Police fired, I think, 2 warning shots or 3 warning shots. He still did not surrender or put down the machete, and eventually it led to him being shot in his stomach. There is a whole series of things that the public don't know, and I think that the public ought to know to set the background as to what actually transpired.
Why does the police report have a knowing misrepresentation? It says that PC Arzu, this is the internal report, shot him in the legs twice, or shot after him in the legs twice. I'm saying that there is purposeful misrepresentation of the facts perpetuated then by Mr. Romero. This is a worrying trend that brings the entire story into doubt. I know the video will clarify, but I'm saying that what I'm seeing here is a deliberate attempt to suppress the truth from the police department.
I don't think so, Jules. And I hope I'm right, but I believe that Mr. Romero was misinformed. I did not speak to Romero before he had that press brief with you all. I don't know what information he got. But from the incident happened, I was briefed by the Southern Regional Commander, and he briefed me that a young man was shot in his stomach.
But you have seen the internal report. If he read the internal report, that's why he was misinformed.
That is not what I think is in the internal report, no. Perhaps that's a briefing that he might have gotten from I don't know who, but if that is exactly what he said, I apologize to the public, because that is not what happened. The young man was shot in the abdomen from a front angle.
Do you see how it throws the whole narrative into question, however?
Certainly, yes.
Williams was then pressed about the re-enlistment of PC Sheldon Arzu, which occurred under his tenure. Arzu had been convicted of manslaughter and served 13 years in prison for killing a man inside the Keycocker police station in 2003.
PC Sheldon Arzu, is he your cousin?
Where do you get this from now?
I know you have many Arzus who are cousins. I have to ask.
I had a talk with my ancestors yesterday.
Okay.
And I was told that I do have some Vasquez in my family, so perhaps you are my family too.
Sir, all right, so explain to me the circumstances of his re-enlistment.
I guess the minister had explained that to you. He was enlisted under the previous administration on the request of Mr. Saldiva. At the end of the day, I don't want to go into the whole semantics of whatever, because if you are hypothetically, a convicted murderer, and someone comes to you and attack you, is it right to say because you're a convicted murderer you must not do nothing? I don't think that should be the case. We must look at everything based on the facts that exist. So I rather leave this until the investigation is done. Whatever PSB decides, then we'll go by that.
But I'm just asking, you were the police commissioner when he was re-enlisted. Did you look at it and say, convicted for manslaughter in a police station while on the job? I can't do this, Minister. As you had told Mike Perfit when he asked you to do something that you couldn't do. Did you look at it and say, I can't do it? Or did you just say, yeah, man, sure, no problem? That seems okay.
Of course, yes, at that particular time, he was enlisted as a special constable with the tourism police unit, yes. Right? And then subsequently, the minister had requested that he be given regulation number. Obviously, I would oppose it. And I don't want to, of course I did. I'm not going to go into much details of that, but I'll say to you I oppose it. And from there, the rest is history.
The media also asked Minister of Home Affairs, Honorable Kareem Musa, about PCR Zoo's re-enlistment.
Information that I gather is that he was re-enlisted in the police department in the last administration. I believe it was 2019. It wasn't under this administration. Having a criminal background or a criminal record certainly should be a bar to re-entering or being re-enlisted into the department. And so you'd have to ask the last administration, I believe it was Minister Perfit, as to what led to the Minister Saldiva, as to what led to the re-enlistment of Mr. Arzu.
What happens now in respect of the fact that his name is being called once again in a situation where someone got injured by his firearm, reportedly?
Again, someone with a machete. The last person killed, he said they had a machete.
So I believe that matter currently stands with the Professional Standards Branch. I was made aware by the Commissioner that there is video footage, and while it is the policy of the department not to have a trial by media for every single incident that happens, I believe that this certainly warrants the media being in possession of that. And so I believe the Commissioner will be requesting PSB to share that video with the members of the media, just for transparency and clarity.
Sir, but if you had your way, you said someone with a criminal conviction should not serve. He should not be in the department.
Again, that you'll have to ask the last administration.
Yeah,
my opinion, as long as I am the minister, and if you bring someone with a criminal record, I don't believe that they should be re-enlisted, no.
But he is re-enlisted.
I understand, but once he's there, you do understand that public service regulations, he would have to commit another breach, and then it would have to go to tribunal, and then disciplinary after that. And so the fact that he's re-enlisted, there's nothing much that I can do.
Addressing one final aspect of this matter, we asked for the department to provide a copy of the police report regarding the assault of Inspector Rosado that led to Rivers' detention in the first place. The commissioner provided that report, and while we note that he said Rivers assaulted Rosado, quote, almost killing him, the police report does not allude to such a grave situation. It merely narrates that Rosado ran into Rivers upon exiting the Belize Bank in Independence. The report states, quote, his attention was drawn to a male person identified as Emil Rivers. Rivers appeared to be under the influence of some substance and was armed with a large knife tucked in his pants waist. Rivers took out the knife from his waist, at which time Inspector Rosado informed him of the offense committed. Armed with offense weapon, and informed him to hand over the knife, where he said no. Rosado informed him that he would be detained and cautioned him and tried to subdue him. At this time, Rivers resisted and started to struggle with Rosado, causing him injuries and his TCL brand cell phone, which values $350 Belize dollars, to be damaged. Other police officers came in aid of Rosado, and they were able to subdue Rivers and took away the knife from him, end quote. Rivers is pending charges of assault to a police officer, resisting arrest, and escaping from lawful custody. High Court Justice Rajiv Guntilike has dismissed the claim by Michael Feinstein, challenging the government's intention to compulsorily acquire the 23.4-acre State Bank Island extension for a public purpose. They argued that the move to acquire the property, which is in Feinstein's name, was unconstitutional. The trial occurred in December 2024, and in his decision today, the judge declared that the intended acquisition, which was gazetted on August 27, 2024, did not violate the Constitution, and importantly, that the reason cited for the intended acquisition is not inconsistent with our laws when it comes to the definition of a public purpose. We hear from Senior Counsel Eamon Courtney, the attorney for the Honduran company OPSA that bought over the state bank debt from Atlantic Bank.
Mr. Feinstein challenged the law, the Land Acquisition Public Purposes Act, and maintained that it was unconstitutional. And then he also challenged the exercise by the minister under that law to start the acquisition process. So not only was he challenging the proposed acquisition in relation to his company, but also the law itself. The judge, in a very comprehensive judgment, found that he failed on both grounds. One, he found that the law is constitutional. He did a thorough analysis of all the cases that were presented by all the sides that were appearing in the case, and concluded that the law was in fact constitutional, and that the argument by Mr. Feinstein that because there was no specific provision as to when he would get paid if his land was compensated, it was compulsorily acquired, that it was unconstitutional. The court rejected that. Insofar as the proposed acquisition, Mr. Feinstein argued that it was not in the public interest, that it was done in an abuse of power by the minister, that it was done to benefit some private individuals, and that there were alternatives. For example, Port of Belize, he had said, was an alternative, and so there was no need to take State Bank. Once again, the judge did not find favor with any of those arguments. First, there was absolutely no abuse of power. Two, there was no improper purpose. And three, there was no alternative. A central part of Mr. Feinstein's case was that this entire thing was not in the public interest. Of course, there is a mountain of evidence from Mr. Feinstein himself over the years saying that it was necessary to do State Bank in the public interest. And so his own words were used against him.
So what happens after this decision? Can the government proceed by acquire the land by publishing the second notice and then sell to OPSA?
From my client's point of view, which is OPSA, the Honduran company that had provided a substantial part of the financing and had partnered along with Mr. Feinstein in State Bank to advance this project, their position has always been that they have the finances to complete the project, but that because there was this dispute, internal company dispute with Mr. Feinstein, they would stall it until that was resolved. That dispute has not been resolved. As I understand it from my clients, they are quite keen to move forward. It is now a decision for the Minister of Natural Resources to determine whether he's going to issue the second notice, because there are two steps. The first notice, which is a signal that I am intending to, and that is what was challenged. The court has said, what you're doing is lawful, proceed, or at least you're at liberty to proceed. The court didn't say he should proceed. He's at liberty to proceed. So I think he will now take advice from the Attorney General as to what is the next step for the minister to do. If the minister publishes the second notice, it means that State Bank, the extension, the portion that is in Mr. Feinstein's name, would immediately vest in the government. In the case, the evidence is that it would then hand that piece of property to the company itself. The government would pass it to the company, which would then free my clients to allow them to start continuing to do the financing of the project. Assuming, I mean, I haven't spoken to them for quite some time, but assuming that that's still their intention.
But what happens if Feinstein launches an appeal? Will that stop the government in its tracks from completing its acquisition of the extension?
You have to go to court and ask the court to stay its judgment, or to go to the appeal court and ask the appeal court to suspend the effect of this judgment. So unless that is done, the minister is free to move forward with the acquisition. I think it is important, Jules. The judge went at great length to explain why it is in the public interest and necessary, having looked at all the evidence, why it is necessary for this project to move forward by way of a compulsory acquisition. There are tens of millions of dollars in duties that have been foregone by the people of Belize, essentially, and that based on the investment that has been put in. There is a legislation that has been passed by the National Assembly that has been amended, I believe, in 2017 to further assist. There is the definitive agreement between the government and State Bank to have this project move forward. And all these documents, all these things have said it is in the public interest. As you know, one of the points that was made in the case was that the number of cruise passengers coming to Belize is actually declining. Not because Belize is not an attractive destination, in fact it is, but it is the need to have a facility where the bigger ships can dock alongside. And therefore, this is one of the main motivations, I believe, for the Minister of Natural Resources to adopt this course that he's taking. The tourism industry, insofar as the cruise sector is concerned, is in dire need of a docking facility.
This is a big win for the government, but it is expected that Feinstein would appeal. Costs were awarded against Feinstein. U.S. President Donald Trump has been keeping his promise with regards to deporting those who are in the U.S. illegally, and has sent plane loads of such individuals back to countries in the Americas. Reportedly, there have been some 899 Belizeans identified to be deported, but the list in which that figure appears has not yet been confirmed. When asked if the Belize Police Department is concerned, Honorable Kareem Musa said they will be ready and that the general consensus shouldn't be that all being returned are criminals.
I don't know whether that's an accurate number. It's not a concern per se. We do know that that is a policy decision of the new Trump administration. And so we do expect some deportees to be coming back. Not necessarily violent offenders. I know my friend Jules Vasquez, again, in attacking the numbers, is saying, oh, all the criminals gonna say it's gonna come home now, doom and gloom. Jules, you know better than I do. One criminal gone, 5 more grow up the next day. That's not how this works. Migration has happened since the 70s and 80s, continues to this day. And I know you need a reason to explain away the numbers, but Jules, this is a fact of life. And yes, we have to prepare ourselves for the deportation.
What preparations are we speaking of in terms of being able to perhaps deal with those who have a criminal past in the United States and are sent back home?
Well, we are going to deal, Isani, with whether they have a criminal past here in Belize or if they are pending charges. For instance, I believe Ellis Main is one of them. If there are others, then we will, if there is enough evidence, then those individuals will be charged. And so the police department obviously has a roster of these individuals that they will be keeping an eye on and, if necessary, charge upon their return.
Commissioner of Police Chester Williams reiterated that only those with a criminal past would be of concern to the police.
Honestly, I do not keep track of all deportees unless if they're a person who may have some violent or criminal past. And again, I see a lot of rumbling in the public domain in terms of what is going to happen to those persons who will be deported from the U.S. because the deportee law is there, which speaks to what must be done. But may I say that we are not going to treat all those people who will be sent back home as a deportee, for the simple reason that if you are living in the States, you're trying to make life for yourself and you did not have a criminal past either here or in the U.S., and then they decide to pick you up and send you back home. I don't think it is going to be right for us to have you reporting every week to the police station. And so in those instances, we're going to waive it. We're only going to have those persons who have some criminal past or who are being deported for criminal reasons. Those who are not for criminal reasons, we will waive the process. From what I would have been made to understand, they would have still been in custody awaiting asylum hearing or whatever, so I don't know. But we have not been notified if they are among those persons who will be sent back shortly.
After the break, police minister says the UDP is upset that the murder rate is lower under the PUP administration. Stay with us. recent UDP administration, both claim that the Belize Police Department is actively underreporting cases of murder to keep the figures low. They based those claims on figures they say they have received. Today, Commissioner of Police Chester Williams was adamant that there is no false information being reported by the department. Williams also responded to Perifeet's remarks that the murder rate in Belize is too high, comparing current figures to when the UDP was last in power.
There is no false information being put out by the...
So you said 89 and 94.
There is no false information put out by the department. Your figure is 91, and I could understand your 91, because you have two in there. That one is still not yet classified. That's the one in San Pedro.
Matthew Moses.
Yes, and we also have one that is a manslaughter. That's how you reach to 91. We cannot categorize those as murders because manslaughter is not murder. And the one that has not yet been classified, we cannot put that as murder at this time. So I could understand you, but I cannot understand how Perifeet arrived at 94. And then to say that, to have a country with a murder per capita of 24 is unacceptable. I want to give him his record, the UDP records for the past, during their time in office for 12 years. They came into office 2008. 2008, we averaged 31.9 per 100,000. 2009, 30.1 per 100,000. 2010, 40 per 100,000. 2011, 37.8 per 100,000. 2012, 43.4 per 100,000. 2013, 29.0 per 100,000. 2014, 35.2 per 100,000. 2015, 33.4 per 100,000. 2016, 37.9 per 100,000. 2017, 38.2 per 100,000. 2018, 37.8 per 100,000. 2019, 34.7 per 100,000. 2020, 26.0 per 100,000.
Minister of Home Affairs Honorable Kareem Musa responded to the allegations, stating that it doesn't make sense to alter the total by 5 murder cases when it was much higher when Perifeet held the portfolio. Musa said it seems they are simply upset that the murder totals are now lower.
When I listen to Perifeet and Shine, I get the feeling like they're the grim reapers of governance and politics. I have never seen two people, well, three, more pray out the lives of Belizean people than these people. They're praying out the lives of Belizean people. The numbers show that we had 89 homicides, but they're getting up there to complain that it should be 94. We want more people dead in our country, like when they were in power, 145. That's what they should be talking about. Same characters lining up who had no plans, and I didn't see Joe's here any plans or solutions to crime, but these are the same characters who could not provide solutions for crime. Criticizing a difference of 5, I think, numbers, it's just ridiculous.
They're saying that they were perhaps deliberately classified.
For what reason? For what reason? Cook what? It's 94, 89. It's not 89 or 145. What is cooking? If the DPP says that this is a case of manslaughter, you still want us to put it as a homicide? Or if the forensics department has done a post-mortem and says it doesn't seem to be foul play, you still want us to put murder? I mean, that's the level we're going at now, because people just can't be satisfied that numbers are lower than their time.
On the matter of members of the department allegedly leaking data to those on the outside, Williams said it is a dangerous practice, especially when the information is not entirely accurate.
As a department, we are looked upon by the public as one that is able to keep certain information confidential. I don't think that it looks good when a police department is leaking information that should not be leaked. And it is even worse when we have people who are giving out information that is not accurate. to the public, just with the hope that by so doing, they will make the commissioner look bad. At the end of the day, it's not me who is going to look bad. It's the department, the country, and all of us.
As was reported Tuesday, 69-year-old Sonia Sambula perished in a house fire in Dangriga Stan Creek on Monday night. Sambula lived on the second floor of the structure and was not able to escape the blaze. Her grandsons lived downstairs and made it out alive. Her son, Denmark Sambula, claimed that his nephews, Sambula's grandsons, could have helped save her. Today, Commissioner of Police Chester Williams was asked if they could face charges.
While he may have a moral obligation by law, not a moral obligation, legally, I don't think he has a legal obligation. I guess he was running to save his own life, and perhaps he believed that he could not have saved her and saved himself, so he ran. If it were a police or a fire personnel who would have a legal obligation, maybe, but even though that legal obligation would have been there, the law would have to look at what risk it would have posed to them. So I don't think we'll be able to bring any charges.
The grandson, just for the record, the grandson did say he went back into the home to try to save her, but it was too hot and he had to get out.
Yeah, so we can't do nothing about that now.
Another issue brought up by former Police Minister Michael Parafit during the UDP's press conference on Tuesday was the issue of police officers owning businesses. Parafit insinuated that it could lead to corruption. Today, Honorable Kareem Musa responded to the allegations. He also affirmed that officers are allowed to own their own businesses as long as they are reputable and held accountable.
That is a rank speculation and allegations. I mean, people are allowed to have private businesses, yes or no? I think many officers have private businesses.
But is it permitted?
Whether they get loans and that sort of thing, you have to ask them if that's how they get their money.
Yes, but under the
there's nothing preventing
service.
it. No, there's nothing preventing you from having a private business. I don't know why you feel like these things are popping up now, that commissioners of police, deputies, assistants, even low-level police constables have private businesses. We are not going to go down a road of restricting police officers from having a business. Now, that business obviously has to be legitimate. They obviously have to maintain their reputation in carrying out their business. That is what is important. You have to look at that. If they're swindling people, I fully agree with you that they should not have a business of that nature and remain police officers. They should come out of the department.
Sir, but if your business is law enforcement, you are...
But don't you have managers?
Your moral authority.
Can't you have managers of your business? You act as though the commissioner or assistants or deputies are out at their businesses all day. If they're doing that, then they are definitely breaching their fiduciary duty as officers.
Sir, you have man with car dealerships. You have two, because Mr. Senior Superintendent Sutherland is one, and we know that the FIU just said car dealership is one of the hotspot areas for money laundering.
So you better be accountable and reputable.
Responding to the allegations, Compol Chester Williams said it would only be an issue if there are conflicts of interest. He pointed out occasions where that was the case under the UDP administration.
Honestly, if a person wants to venture into a business that is going to be honest and transparent, then there is nothing wrong with it. I could have opened a law firm and have a law firm running while I'm the Commissioner of Police.
That would be such a conflict, though.
Thank you very much. That would certainly be a grave conflict of interest. So I dare not do that, right? When UDP was in power, and you know this too, Jules, there was a Deputy Commissioner of Police who owned and operated a security company. You know this, right? A security company, I believe there is a huge conflict there to have a security company and to be the Deputy Commissioner of Police. Nothing was said about that Deputy Commissioner who owned the security company, and at that particular time, the Deputy Commissioner had control of dangerous goods that deals with hiring and giving license to security guards. And you know what happened there? I'm not going to say, right? No. While Perifit was in office, he had a law firm, right?
He said he renounced his shares.
He had a law firm. And I will tell you again to do the studies. Find out which law firm wrote the protocol agreement. These are things that you must be real about, you know. You can't be throwing stone when you live in a glass house.
After the break, Belize exploring harvesting of Frito-Lay variety potatoes, and Marconi Leal will not contest upcoming general elections. Stay tuned. that U.S. President Donald Trump has suspended all foreign aid until all programs have been reviewed. It was not a surprising move, but many anticipated it would not have been as swift. For Belize, the suspension will affect a few NGOs as well as potentially the Belize Police Department, as CARSI, the Central America Regional Security Initiative, was suspended. It is a program that was implemented in 2012 to improve citizen security in certain Central American countries. Home Affairs Minister Honorable Kareem Musa spoke of the assistance his ministry has received through CARSI during his tenure, and he explained what would happen next if the program remains suspended.
Upon assuming office in 2020, we got a huge donation of motor vehicles, the Comstat building, the Comstat office, equipping with our computers, very state-of-the-art center. And so that perhaps was the biggest contribution of CARSI in our 4-year term. I know that 2 weeks ago we had a donation of 9 vehicles, but only six are for the police department. And so we're very grateful to the U.S. government and to CARSI for those donations. Obviously, in our crime fighting strategies, narco trafficking, interrupting narco trafficking, we will need more resources, and that's something that our government will have to fit the bill, obviously, or we can rely on external partners like Taiwan. But in the meantime, to answer your question, I would say to some extent it will be missed.
Belize agricultural authorities are considering the importation of Frito-Lay variety potatoes to begin trials to determine if it can be grown in Belize. The Frito-Lay 2312 variety of potato is being successfully grown in Petén, Guatemala, that has a similar tropical climate and soil conditions as Belize. The Belize Marketing and Development Corporation, BMDC, recently organized a tour for 15 Belize potato farmers at one farm in Petén to learn about the production of the white potatoes. According to Belize's Ministry of Agriculture, technical expertise shared during the tour, including environmentally friendly market practices, innovations for potato farming, and common diseases and viruses. Minister of Agriculture Hasemai accompanied the farmers on the tour, which concluded last week, Thursday. Agriculture CEO Servulo Baeza considers the initiative promising for Belize.
Last year we had a visit from PepsiCo, and they are interested in getting product for their chips. They produce Frito-Lay, the chips. So, you know, Pepsi has the product, the beverages, but they also have a food line also. And so they are looking for farmers to produce potato for their chips. So they came to us last year, and one of the things that we said, well, you know, it would be interesting to see, well, so obviously we're interested, if we could do something like that, to have some of our farmers do some contract farming with the company to produce specifically for them. And so they were the ones who were encouraging us to do this visit right across the border. I believe it was in the area of Poptun, where there's a farmer, they have this white variety of potato growing, which is used to do the potato chips for the Frito-Lay line. To be honest with you, from when they came to visit us, we had asked them for them to provide us some of the seed for us to do some trials here, and already I think they did provide us with some seeds. So a couple of our farmers, I think, are doing some trials with it already, no? So we'll see how that goes. But it looks promising.
The People's United Party today announced that due to personal matters, Honorable Marconi Leal Sr. has made the difficult and personal decision not to contest the upcoming general elections. The party says it respects his decisions and informs that the next standard bearer for Belize Rural North will be selected in full consultation with the constituency executive. In more agriculture news, the Ministry of Agriculture and the Belize Marketing and Development Corporation, BMDC, are supporting carrot farmers from San Carlos Orange Walk in turning their excess carrot supply into juice. On Friday, they organized a visit for the farmers to Silk Grass Farms in the south to view the company's high-pressure juice processing machine as it produced carrot juice. Ongoing is a trial where all natural carrot juice is being produced at Silkgrass Farms with a shelf life of 120 days. According to the ministry, the value-added product will soon be available in half-gallon and gallon bottles. In a statement on Facebook, the ministry noted, quote, "This effort not only reduces food waste, but also provides a nutritious Belizean-made product," end quote. Yesterday in Belmopan, a woman in a gray 4Runner collided into a motorcyclist, injuring his leg. The woman reported that she lost control of her vehicle when a scorpion stung her twice. Today, Commissioner of Police Chester Williams was asked if the woman would be charged in connection with the incident.
I must report that the scorpion is in custody at this time. Really and truly, it is going to be difficult to even prosecute her because they'll have to look at what the effects of that scorpion bite could have done to her. And so what we'll do, we'll send that file to DPP and allow the DPP to make the determination on that.
And on Monday morning, a two-story building on the compound of Ontario Christian School along the George Price Highway in Ontario, Cayo, saw its upper floor completely destroyed by fire. The building served as the manager's house and dormitory. There was no one present at the time, and the fire is suspected of having started around 2 that morning. School authorities believe that the incident was an act of arson, as they also discovered that the school's cafeteria and a standard 4 classroom were burglarized. The school, which also has a preschool, has some 200 students. And with that, we have come to the end of our newscast. The repeat can be viewed on this station later tonight at 9 and again tomorrow at midday. Join us again tomorrow for another news broadcast. I am Drea Espinosa. Have a safe and enjoyable evening.